Good evening. Not on. That's mine. There you go. I'd like to call to order the Scotts Valley City Council meeting for September 4th. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence.
Flag.
And could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Tim,
Here.
Councilmember Dillis,
Here.
Councilmember Lind. Here. Councilmember Timms.
Thank you. Tonight we have a special set matter. This is a mayor's proclamation honoring Jacob's Heart Children Cancer Support Service and declaring September 2024 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And I was hoping that Sandy Montes and Argenis Ramirez could join me at the podium. I'd like to present this proclamation.
Hi, my name is Sandy Montes,
And I'm Argenis Ramirez.
and on behalf of Jacob's Heart, we would like to thank the mayor and the city council for proclaiming September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
And thank you for your support and advocating for families who have a child with cancer in our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just gonna read from this. You know, overcoming the heartbreak of learning that your child has cancer and acknowledging the just how they respond and the courage that both the parents and these children show is heartwarming. And so with that, I would like to read this proclamation. It's honoring Jacob's Heart. And whereas the character of our community is revealed in how we treat our most vulnerable, and whereas each year 19.2 in every 100,000 children in our community will be diagnosed with cancer, and whereas Jacob's Heart has kept medically fragile children and families housed, fed, emotionally supported by steadfastly adhering to the following commitments. Parents of children with cancer and other serious illnesses will be relieved of financial fears and able to focus the attention on their children. No child undergoing intensive treatment in our community will be homeless. Families of seriously ill children will not experience food insecurity during or after their pandemic. No seriously ill children in our community will ever miss a medical appointment because of lack of transportation. These are all noble things that you do. And whereas Jacob's Heart holds the memories and honors the legacies of hundreds of children from our local community who have been lost to cancer, ensuring that their memories will never be forgotten. And whereas the oncology department at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford has worked closely with Jacob's Heart for the last 26 years as a trusted community partner in providing family-centered care that addresses the emotional, practical, and financial struggles of families of children with cancer in the city of Scotts Valley. And whereas it's important for all Scotts Valley City residents to recognize the impact of pediatric cancer on families within our community and honor the children of our community whose lives have been cut short by cancer. Now, therefore, I, Randy Johnson, as mayor of the city of Scotts Valley, on behalf of the entire city council, do hereby honor Jacob's Heart Children Cancer Support Services for outstanding support to our community and acknowledge the organization's contributions to Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And so the work that you do is both noble and needed. And I just want to thank you for being here tonight. I don't know if you want to share a few more words on a little bit of what you do, but it was a pleasure seeing you. And please accept this proclamation.
Great, thank you. I just would like to thank the generosity of the community. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to do this work. We are really expanding our mental health services now, helping families who are going through the loss of their child. And that's what I work with right now. I work with bereaved parents. And I thank you guys for the continuous support. And the parents are very honored to, be part of this community that has been so generous to them. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to committee reports. I'll start on my right. Donna Lind.
Thank you. I had a Metro board meeting last 4 weeks ago, and one of the significant things I wanted to share is that Metro is offering free rides to the Santa Cruz County Fair from September 11th through the 15th. And that's both on the fixed route and the Paracruise services. And they're also offering I believe it's $15 discount tickets are available for adults when you're riding on Metro, and $7 savings and $5 for children, which is $6 savings. And they will be departing from Wattsville, let's see, actually on bus 79 and 79F, both of those will be special. There'll be a special bus taking those going to Santa Cruz County Fair. So appreciate Metros for that work. And also want to announce that next Wednesday will be the 5th annual 9/11 stair climb, which is remembering remembering 9/11, remembering the World Trade Center and those that were lost. And our first responders retired in Curtin will be doing a stair climb, checking in at 8 o'clock at Seacliff Beach. And they will be walking the same number of stairs as were walked on 9/11/2001. It's a very powerful event. It's something I've been a part of. It supports Fallen Officer Foundation the last 5 years. And so feel free to join. You don't have to walk the stairs. It's a really powerful, beautiful event at Seacliff Beach, checking in at 9. Usually the actual announcement is right at the same time, I think 8:44. And there'll be NetCom will make an announcement over the police radios, and then the officers and firefighters will start walking the stairs. So really cool event supporting Fallen Officer Foundation. So welcome you to join us. And other than that, that's the only other thing I have to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Timms.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of reports. I attended the Age Well event at Cabrillo College a week or so ago, which was a preview of the Santa Cruz County Age Well survey results. I won't go through all of the findings because there were a lot. There'll be a summary report coming out, which I'll circulate once it's available. But a couple of things stood out for me, such as 1 in 4 seniors in Santa Cruz County leave the county to get essential health services and have to leave the county to get those services. Mental health care is particularly hard to get seniors. 25% of caregivers describe their mental health as poor or fair. Low pay, high stress, lack of support are some of the key reasons for that they cited. And in Scotts Valley, particularly, the lack of urgent care is a big problem for seniors. As I say, I'll circulate more of the findings in the report once we get. I attended this morning a meeting of LAFCO. We received a report on the progress of Central Fire since they were reorganized and joined together with La Selva Beach. And that was 3 years ago now, and is going extremely well, and is probably a good model for fire protection districts as they begin to merge. We also received a partial report on the CSA 48 study, which is continuing but not ready to yet present anyone. Lastly, I attended a special meeting of the Central Coast Community Energy group, who are considering amending the structure and reducing the board size from something very big like 19 plus 12 advisory down to maybe 9. It was a very long discussion with no real conclusions at this time, and they are forming an ad hoc group to try and study that further. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Timms.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one report. We had a town center community meeting at the community center a couple weeks ago, which was really well attended. I see some of you here in the audience were there, so thank you for coming out to that. We've been gathering community feedback. We have 3 plans. They're up on the city's website. If you haven't seen them yet, please take time to go look at them. We're very excited about the feedback we're getting, and we've gotten some really, I think, valuable input from the community on ways we can take this forward. So that's been great. You have another opportunity also to do it in person. We're going to have at the Multicultural Festival this weekend at Sky Park. I encourage you all to attend. It's a really fun event. It's a sharing of cultures from all over the world that are present here in our community in Scotts Valley, as well as music, food, all sorts of things. Great support from our city staff in making that happen as well. So we're excited to see that happen this weekend, but we'll also have a booth there for the town center to take feedback from the community. So enjoy culture, stop by and give input on the town center as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Dulles.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have one report. I attended a meeting of the Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency. We received a groundwater sustainability program update. Staff is currently working with the state to convert local plans and actions they have planned into a database along with the groundwater agencies from across the state. And this will end up with a portal, statewide web portal, where the public can access all these reports and what the goals are, steps and so forth that all the groundwater agencies are taking across the state to conserve our water. We also received an update on changes to the county's well ordinance. And this is to comply with the state law. Up till now, the county has had policies, but they're putting it into an ordinance with a little bit more teeth. And in particular, they plan to create a requirement that any replacement wells or new wells that are non-de minimis, meaning they're not small, they'll have to install meters. And they define non-de minimis as more than 2 acre-feet a year. To some people, that's my report.
Thank you. I attended the town center meeting at the community center as well. It was very productive. And you did a good job in giving a synopsis of what happened there. So with that, we'll move on to the city manager report. City Manager Legault.
Good evening, Mayor Johnson, members of the City Council and the community. Just to tag on to the town center outreach, we will be at the Multicultural Festival, and I put some postcards on the back table. So those of you in the room who want to weigh in or know more about how to do that, feel free to grab a postcard. It also has the web address and the QR code to the online survey where we're asking for community feedback online. As of today, we've received 100 survey responses online, which is great, on top of the feedback that we've received at our in-person events. So really looking forward to compiling all of that feedback and moving forward with a preferred plan based on all of the community's input. Next, I wanted to mention that we were finally able to repair the potholes on Mount Herman Road near Highway 17. It was an onerous process getting a Caltrans encroachment permit to do that work, and it took several months of patience by our contractor and staff to get through that process. But today the work started and was completed. About 200 feet of replaced asphalt to repair those really bad potholes that were near Highway 17 on the northbound Mount Herman Road lanes. The other ongoing construction that's happening over there, the PG&E work at Whispering Pines and Mount Herman Road, is continuing. I know that has had major impacts on traffic and people's ability to travel through that area, and we appreciate people's ongoing patience as that project has not completed just yet. Next, continuing on the Public Works theme, I'm excited to announce that we have a new associate engineer, Andrew Lee, starting on Monday. With Andrew's addition to the team, we have a fully staffed engineering department for the first time in a very long time, and a huge kudos to Rodolfo Anchi, our Public Works Director, who managed to bring on a senior civil engineer with 20 years of experience in Dat Nugent, who we hired this summer, as well as Andrew Lee with 12 years of experience coming in as an associate engineer. And with this team in place, we will be able to start designing many of our projects in-house. We won't be so reliant on consultants, which are more expensive, harder to manage because they're not as familiar with our community, and take longer. So really looking forward to the efficiencies we'll gain, the quality we'll gain from having that level of expertise in-house in our engineering division. So very excited about Andrew starting and what we'll be able to do with that full complement of staffing. Related to Public Works, I wanted to provide an update on our field conditions, and I think we have some members in the audience here who may want to speak about this in public comment as well. So I've been getting regular updates from our maintenance manager, Matt Spencer Cook. Matt also did an update presentation to our Parks and Rec Commission last month to keep our Parks and Rec Commission and the community informed of the work that's been happening and the challenges that we've had to keep our grass in usable condition over the summer. So just kind of a recap on that. I think the council, you've been kept informed that early in the summer, unfortunately during the hottest days that we had in June, was when we had a major upset at our wastewater treatment plant that produces the recycled water that we use to water our fields. Because of the issues there, we were not able to produce high enough quality water to use it on the grass for most of 3 weeks. And unfortunately, that was during the hottest time of the summer, and a lot of the grass died. And it was a huge challenge. Staff worked very hard to try to resolve the issues at the wastewater treatment plant. Things got a little better, they got a little worse. And then finally we were able to resolve it, and now we're producing more recycled water than we have historically through the solutions that were implemented by our wastewater division manager, Jeremy Long. So that was not a great start to the summer. It really set us back with our ability to keep the grass watered during the hottest time. But now all of the watering has been restored. It has been for a while now, but after Art and Wine Festival, which many of you I think attended and enjoyed the festivities, but it took its toll on the grass as well. We ended up having to replace over 20 sprinklers and lift sprinklers that had been driven over, as well as repair lines that were broken. So that caused an extended period of time that we weren't able to keep the the grass watered because of making those repairs and those issues. But as of this week, all of the heads have been repaired. They've adjusted all of the heights of the sprinkler heads to clear the grass and verify that coverage is doubling over as the heads are watering. The fields are getting watered every day from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. across the 30 stations at Sky Park, and then also over at Silton Park. The dead spots that are there are mostly from the heavy traffic and the gophers that we've also been battling over the summer, and will need to be reseeded. But one of our challenges is that with soccer season, we aren't able to really rest those fields and seed them until probably December when soccer season wraps up. So between events and sports, it's been hard to find time to fully rest the fields so that they can recover. But we are planning for some major work this winter, and then also how we can schedule that work on a regular basis into the future. On the Gophers front, our staff have become certified to use a Gopher X machine, which is one of the gopher eradication options we've employed, as well as trapping. And trapping is happening twice a week. And then the Gopher X machine is being used weekly as well. And I heard from Matt this morning that they've confirmed 53 gophers have been trapped, as well as numerous gophers that have been, that the Gopher X machine has eliminated. And the staff are using topsoil to fill the holes to try to repair the damage from gophers. We have signed up one volunteer to help with this effort, and if others are interested to help as well, they're encouraged to reach out to Matt Spencer Cook with our Public Works Maintenance Division, and he will work with individuals who would like to volunteer to help with those efforts. So long-term planning, Matt's been working on getting pricing and materials and a schedule together for how we can do more routine, regular maintenance on those fields. We've resolved the issues at the wastewater treatment plant that caused the initial summer damage that was virtually impossible to recover from after the heavy use of the summer activities on the fields. But we're really focusing on what we can do this winter and then into next season to try to prevent a similar situation in the future. So I think staff are being as proactive as they can, given all of the challenges and setbacks that we've had. We do have 2 vacancies for maintenance workers. So if anyone knows someone who or would like to apply, we are looking for 2 maintenance workers to join our team, which will also add staff capacity to further address the conditions of our parks and our roads. And a couple of other updates for you this evening related to housing. We received our standard agreement from the state for our permanent local housing allocation funding, which was the $430,000 that we submitted for back in February. We finally just received the agreement with the state to be able to start using those funds. And the majority of those funds are planned to be used for pre-development of the affordable housing as part of the town center project. So looking forward to getting going on that work. The draft environmental impact report for the Valley Gardens project is out for public comment for a 45-day public comment review period. It's on the city's website under the planning department current projects for anyone who would like to learn more about that project and understand the environmental impacts. And that public comment period is open until October 14th. So that concludes my updates for you this evening.
Thank you. I'm going to put out wanted posters for gophers, apparently. All right, with that, then we will move on to public comment time. This is an opportunity for anybody wishing to speak on items that are not on our agenda. You may do so. The city council cannot take any action, but you are welcome to express your opinion. If you want to speak, the podium back there is the place to do it. Welcome.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. Also appreciate the work you guys do. I know it's probably, you're not overpaid, I know, but you're not underpaid, but you've got a lot of responsibility and I respect that. However, as a citizen of this community and as an active volunteer for many years that you always, perhaps some of you don't know some of the accomplishments that I've been able to help procure throughout this community. Sky Park was one of them back in the early 90s with a guy named Tom Moore and Dave Marconi, along with some of the council members up there. We got the park built without basically any aid of the city. So my affection is really grows fond for Sky Park. So when I'm speaking about fields, I'm speaking about the usage that our kids, almost 2,500 kids in organized sports play on those fields. And I might also add, I'm not representing any sports club right now. I'm representing myself, my wife, my 4 kids, and my 7 grandkids, and the safety of their playing ability on these fields. If you guys have gone to the fields over the past couple months, what the city manager said, I thank you. I appreciate all that. On the same token, like I've told you, it should have been done long ago. You know, I hold you 5 up there responsible for the condition of the fields. You people have to learn to get the money and source it to the right location. Sky Park, after the big fires, apparently there was a chunk of money that came in because parks were basically destroyed through necessity, which is not no one's problem, but the city neglected to put effort and money back into that park the way it should have been done 3 years ago, not 2 months ago or 3 months ago, like we were just talking. I just wanted to bring to attention, it's your guys' responsibility to keep those parks in a safe playing condition. It's if you go to any park anywhere in Santa Clara County, Salinas, Monterey, no parks look like ours. This is a proud town. And it's just sad to see these parks the way they are. So in the future, I'm suggesting that you guys put a bigger effort, more effort, and of course, more dollars into the parks, all of our parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right, cool. Thanks for having us. As a 9-year resident of the city, I moved my family here from Santa Cruz area, mostly in order to raise a family.
Name,
And
please.
oh, Chris Matthews. Sorry. This is Aaron. He's- yeah, I've been volunteer coach for the soccer club for the last 3 seasons now, and kind of watched the condition of the Sky Park and Sultanan decline over time. I appreciate the city managers. I mean, I didn't, I don't know any of the history or any of that like the last speaker. Obviously, he has a lot more time and effort invested in it, but yeah, the conditions have just become more, we're less safe, I should say, over time. And yeah, again, there's always a reason for why and how, and I'm not here to prescribe a solution necessarily, but just to bring up the conditions are not good. And then also this year, started as a comp coach and starting to travel to other fields in other areas and realize like how much pride that other communities have in their fields. And we haven't started hosting myself yet, but we will host, teams from other communities in the local area. And obviously condition of those fields really represents, the city and, going forward, the town center and everything else around it. So an opportunity more than anything to put your best foot forward and show off the town for what it is, which is a great place. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Yeah. Additional, you'll need 3 more minutes for the young one, but we can do that.
You don't want him on 3 minutes.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for that. Seeing none, I will say, go forward.
Hello, my name is John Lewis. I recently received a newsletter from the city in my email box. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Sarah DeLeon. My daughter's playing softball right now at SLV, and so the coach, Nick Torres, who runs Trouble for softball, could not be here because he's got a coach. So I am not speaking on behalf of him. I'm just too short for this, so I'm gonna do that. Okay. So I spoke with him and the other parents. We went around a couple of weeks ago and we brought shovels to Sultanan and we filled holes wherever we could find them because there's a lot of loose dirt on top of the grass, which has twofold effect. It kills the grass underneath it, unfortunately. And it's a tripping hazard. And the grass that is there covers the hole enough that you can't see it. And so we filled all the holes we could. The kids enjoyed stomping the dirt down to fill the hole to make sure it was packed in. And then using parents' money, there was about 50 of us there with a lot of kids. But we spread weed and feed to make sure the grass would grow. And we pulled all the weeds around the field. And we take pride in our park, kind of going back to what was said. And we have no problem doing that. I did hear that maybe it wasn't processed the way it should have been. I don't run the program. I was just a volunteer. But I can say that I think we as community have tried to fill in to make it safer for our kids. There was a lot of holes and there's so many gophers, and I get it, it's right next to that land that is open space for them to build their grand and great babies and all of those things. But for whatever reason, they really like the park. So I understand the need for raising the fees. I know for softball in particular, when every Saturday when there's games, the girls' bathroom, restroom, it overflows and backs up into the girls' snack shack. It has for years. There's mold, there's dry rot, there's termites in the snack shack. Everything in there, Kelly Weaver has paid for out of the girls' softball. And we're all so grateful for having a snack shack because not everybody does. And so I just wanted to say, as a parent who is very, very active in softball, it's 5 to 7 days a week. And I love it because my daughter loves it. We love our town. We love our parks. We're very proud of them. And if that means that the fee has to go up, I think a lot of us are okay with paying extra for our kids to be part of these things, as long as it's reflected in how the park looks. I also acknowledge that my former nonprofit owes the city money, and you will have that by the end of this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during public comment time? Okay, seeing none then, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I know that, I don't want to use the word culpability. I mean, I know that the city has certain deficiencies. A lot of it has to do with the amount of manpower that we can bring to bear, I think, on any problem that we might have. I don't want to go into the 50-year-old tax deficiency that we have with respect to our property tax and the fees. There are expectations, and I think, a certain amount of what has been said with respect to, doing better is something that we want to hear. We want to listen and we want to act on that. And I think we're committed to making sure that the fields are safe. I think we heard a little bit in terms of that there are circumstances beyond our control that made particularly the Sky Park field less than optimum. And I'm being kind when I use those words, I know, because I think everybody up here, and I'm happy to say, but what I see out here in this audience is pride in the city of Scotts Valley. I know everybody here feels that. I feel proud when I go to RTC meetings and talk about, the things that our city stands for and what we do and what we accomplish on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis is significant. I think that as a city, we do more with less than probably anybody in our county because we just don't have the funds. We're working on that. Fred, you're right in terms of the commitment that you've made. I will say that, I was there along with you, picking up rocks when the field at Sky Park was nothing but dirt and mud. Slight correction, it was done with some volunteer, but the actual, I remember, I think you recall when the bills for the water district came in and I helped personally raise $7,000 for you to help pay for those. So I'm committed to that field. I love it. I love the 6 acres of emerald that it provides for our children. If there are 2,500 kids out there, it's a great thing. Chuck Comstock and I think forged along with SLV Soccer and Scotts Valley Soccer, I think each provided about $50,000 in order to kind of make that happen. I'll never forget the civil engineer who had his little tractor and some sort of radar thing that leveled that field perfectly. But it is under, I think the piping and so forth and the water irrigation is under sized. That's something, it shouldn't take a full evening of 6 or 7 hours for us to water that field, and that's on us. I think we're going to do our level best to rectify that. I think I speak for the council when I say we hear this and we will act upon it. And, we feel a lot of, somebody was talking about filling a lot of holes in fields. We fill a lot of financial holes here because there's things pop up over here. We have to fill them over here. And it would give us nothing but pleasure to kind of, devote $1 million to those fields and bring them up to the way they should be. Maybe in the future at a time we can do that. But what we will do, and I think I can promise you, is that we will do a better job in terms of making those fields safer and something that the community can be more proud of. So thank you.
Just one addition, I think you're indirectly saying it, but I too want to thank all of the groups that have volunteered and given so much through the years to help make our fields safer and, something that we are proud of. So many of you have been part of that, many of you that are not here, but it's been a huge community support that have kept those fields open. We appreciate, and raised funds and hard work. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's a combined effort of the volunteer works. And a lot of us were, you know, a lot of these organizations from Little League, girls softball, soccer and whatever are fueled by the volunteer and goodwill that the parents and other people associated with these activities and sports do. And we're in your debt. So again, thanks for those things. And, as a parent, Little League and so forth, I was there with you because I had kids play softball and Little League, and I think almost everybody up here has had something. You want to add something?
Maybe. I just, so I used to coach soccer like you, Chris, and the fields were never like in the greatest condition, but they were playable. Sad to hear if they're not great and playable right now, because I know how important that was to my kids and all the kids we coached, and really changed lives when kids get into sports. I know that. One of the things that you brought up CAL FIRE, Fred. We after the fires, I mean, we were great, so grateful that CAL FIRE showed up and helped us save our town, surrounding town. We lost a lot of structures and a lot of homes, but Scotts Valley was spared, and we were happy to give them access to our fields and park their vehicles there. But those vehicles were fully loaded with water tanks that were thousands and thousands of pounds, and that weighed on the fields, and it created, real impacts throughout it. It damaged the underlying systems, and we went out to CAL FIRE and asked them for a reimbursement for those fields. We battled with them for the better part of a year and a half. They pointed fingers at the state pointed back at CAL FIRE. We got about 1/10 of the money we requested. We hired an outside landscaping company to I'm not going to say who because I don't recall, but to come in and do repair work, but it wasn't enough to do the work that we called out and requested to be done. And so, it's a disappointment to me to know that they're not up to par right now, but do know that we are focused on trying to get that handled. I think the city manager in her report illustrated we would be all over staff saying, what is going on? It's not our job to go out and patch the holes. It's our job to make sure staff is doing what they can do it. We also have to choose between things we enjoy, like our community really enjoys the Art and Wine Festival. Boy, that does a number on those fields. And that's right before the start of soccer season. So how do we make a choice between this festival we all enjoy and love and out for and soccer season, and then we end up with broken pipes and other damage to the field. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But we hear you. We appreciate people showing up tonight. I've been out there volunteering on volunteer days, patching holes too, and thank those that are doing it. And to Sarah's point, encourage coaches who want to do that to do the right paperwork at the city, so we don't get in trouble and get sued for people that do get hurt in these things. But thank you, and thank the community for coming out and supporting. That's all. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to add a couple of comments. My kids used to play soccer out there at Sky Park, and I used to watch them with all my friends, and the fields were a lot better, I remember. They were never perfect, but they were a lot better. And I enjoyed them immensely. So I want us to get back to that. I know it's going to take some money and some time but we need to do that. So I want to thank everybody else also for being here and speaking up and for all the stuff you've done over the years for it. So.
All right, thank you. All right. So anybody else online? Public comment time. I'll close public comment time. Again, thanks for coming and expressing. You're welcome to, unless you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to leave right now. I'll give you that opportunity. See ya. Okay, moving on then to alterations to the consent agenda. Are there any?
There are no alterations from staff, Mayor.
Council?
Move approval.
Anyone- Wait a second. Anyone in the public? Our consent agenda. I see no alterations. We have a motion
And a second.
and a second. Got that? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Are there any alterations?
There are no alterations from staff.
Council?
Move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well. So moving on then to our first regular agenda item. This is a disaster recovery multifamily housing letter of support request to assist a financing proposal 100% affordable housing project located at 4444 Scotts Valley Drive with the attending APN.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. While Community Development Director Bateman gets his slides ready, he'll be presenting on this item. I just want to acknowledge the hard work of staff to implement our housing element. And I think that the item before you is a great example of how our housing element is supporting affordable housing in our city. And just one of the many tasks that our staff have been busy working on as we move forward and have interest in developing sites that were identified in our housing element. So with that, I'll turn it over to Community Development Director Bateman.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, the city has received a request for a letter of support to assist with the financing of a proposed 100% affordable housing project located at 4444 Scotts Valley Drive. Just to give you a bit of an overview, we'll talk about the funding source. It's a CDBG disaster recovery grant. We'll talk a bit about the project, the scope of it. We'll talk about the developer who's proposing the project. And we'll also talk about how it complies with city regulations, in particular our housing element. So just a bit of an overview, the Disaster Recovery Multifamily Housing Program is a block grant through the CDBG program, and it's to assist communities to construct affordable housing in areas impacted by natural disasters. In particular, we had the CZU Lightning Complex fires in 2020. So Santa Cruz County has been allocated funds for multifamily housing to help with that disaster. And one particular thing about that program is that there is a requirement that the applicant receive a letter of support for the proposed project from the local jurisdiction. Just to give you guys a bit of an overview, this is a picture of the project. It is a 3-story building, about 25 apartments, 25,000 square feet in building area, 36 parking spaces rather. And it also includes various amenities like a leasing office, laundry room, bicycle storage, and community room. Also point out again that it is a 100% affordable project that's being applied for. It'll apply to low-income households, and that's households that are between 30 and 50% of the area median. Project also has been trying to secure other funding sources, and they do have some funding through the voucher program through the Santa Cruz County Housing Authority as well. I do believe they're also looking for other funding sources as well. These projects, of course, need that to be successful. They're not for profit. They are 100% affordable. I'm also going to just point out that this project is currently under review for compliance with our local standards and state law as well. So while we're looking to provide some guidance to them as they do their funding application, we are also reviewing the application, and it will go through an approval process. So that's still pending. Just wanted to let you guys know that. Here we have the site plan, just so you can get a little bit more of a sense of it. On the upper left corner, we have Scotts Valley Drive. That's the intersection there with B of A across the street. There's an existing building on the site, and this building will be built essentially in the same footprint and retain a lot of the same parking lot layout as well. Okay. Moving on here, just talking a little bit about CRP and who they are. They're an affordable housing developer. They've been in the space for some time. They're a vertically integrated company, so they do a lot of the design work, permitting, the actual construction, and then the ongoing management of these projects. They've owned and operate about 2,500 of these units throughout the West Coast and the East Coast. And they're currently doing projects right now in Southern California, some in Northern California, and actively under construction in Capitola right now with a project down there. And I do believe they're also exploring other sites in Santa Cruz County as well. One of the things too, as we were looking at this request for this funding support letter, we evaluated the project to see how it comports with our existing plans for housing in Scotts Valley, in particular affordable housing. As you may recall, we did recently approve our housing element, and this site was identified in the housing element. And it was a recommended site for housing, additional housing as well. And we're seeing a density there proposed around 25 dwelling units, which is consistent with the analysis that we did on Scotts Valley Drive. Project also supports various housing element goals, policies, and programs that focus on affordable housing development, diversifying the housing stock. So it not only complies with the site, but the overall goals of the housing element as well. So that being said, we found it to be consistent with that. So that is one of the things that we ultimately looked at in our recommendation here to the council tonight. So as I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about next steps. Project is currently under review for compliance with local zoning standards. So just again, we're proposing a letter of support for the project, but there is still further review to occur on the site. And also in that same vein, that the letter of support doesn't constitute support for the project. As I said, that will be forthcoming. So with all of that, staff is recommending that the council authorize the city manager to sign the letter of support for the applicant's funding application for the disaster recovery housing, which would assist with financing a proposed 100% affordable housing project on property designated in the housing element as a candidate site for increased housing capacity. That concludes staff introductions. So if you have any questions, I'm available.
City Manager Legault, thank you for that, Taylor. City Manager Legault, in the staff report, you have a letter of recommendation. Talk a little bit about why that's important and what it means to the CRP in terms of financing and so forth.
As Director Bateman mentioned, to finance these affordable housing projects, the developers have to stack multiple funding types, especially these 100% affordable projects. And so it's important for, in order for these projects to be buildable, to have, some vouchers from the Housing Authority, potentially tax credits. The CDBG funding is a unique funding source that's only available to 6 counties in California based on the disasters in 2020. And so it's important for a project like this to be able to stack those different funding mechanisms in order for the project to work. For this funding source, the funder does require a letter of support from the local jurisdiction as part of the applicant's packet that they submit to request the funding. And so there is a template letter attached to the staff report that is essentially the letter that I would be signing if your council directs me to do so, which states the city's support for the funding application. However, it's clear that that doesn't constitute approval of the project. But at this stage in the process, it's important for the developer to be able to submit that funding application.
And Director Bateman, because it comports with our housing element, resides within the template that we've prepared and given to the state, it makes it even probably a better fit, right, than if it was outside of our housing element.
That's correct. Our analysis shows that it's consistent with our goals and objectives that were approved with the housing element by the city council.
Thank you. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. First, I'm just wondering, I just want to be clear. Sounds like the project is under review, as you put it. But we don't really know exactly what the building's going to look like, do we? I mean, we saw the example, if you will, that you showed us it's in the staff report. But we're not really, it could be something different than that. I mean, I think the looks of that look fine. I like the fact it's set back. You talked about the footprint. So is it true that it may look something different than, I want to encourage this project. I just want to be clear. We don't really know what it's going to look like, do we?
So this is the applicant's proposal at this point in time. It could change through the review process. Likely there will be some comments from staff about the design. We do have objective design standards, which we will be reviewing with this project. So there'll probably be some changes, but unless the applicant changes it, this is probably what's going to go forward.
So there is a set of plans that have been submitted as part of the review?
It's just coming in now as we speak, last few days.
But it seems consistent with what you're showing us tonight?
So I can't speak definitively about it because we haven't conducted our review of it yet, but it is relatively consistent from what I can tell.
Okay, thank you. I'm a visual person. I like to.
Yeah, and I do, and the applicant could change midstream, and we would evaluate that as well.
Okay, my other question, you mentioned that that CRP produced and manages 2,500 rental apartments, if I understood that right. And do they have a reputation about, I know there are some affordable developers that do a very good job at managing projects and others that don't in terms of, crime or whatever. Do you know what the reputation is of CRP in that regard?
So they are new to the area. They are new to Scotts Valley. They do have a project going in Capitola. It just started construction. So I don't know how they'll manage it going forward, but I think the expectation is that they will do a quality job.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Member Timms.
Thank you. And thank you, City Manager and Director Bateman, for the presentation. Very quick question. For the housing element, how many units did we actually predict for that site? I know the density is consistent.
So it is in the ballpark of about 25 units to the acre.
Okay.
So they're falling in line with what we had projected for that site.
And I think just to follow on from Councilmember Dillis, the actual, what it looks like, obviously we'll have to still comply with our design standards and it still goes through the planning process. This is just a supporting argument to allow them to secure the funding.
Yes.
So I'll jump in. So tonight, yes, tonight is just about the funding. Planning process will be different than what we are used to seeing. There will not be a discretionary process. There will not be public hearings, but it will be going through a planning process.
Excellent, thank you. I mean, I think just a comment of this is, one of the steps that we have to take in Scotts Valley to get more affordable housing. So I personally don't see any reason to not support this for sure. I think we should enthusiastically move forward.
I might just add in conjunction with what the city attorney was just saying, the reason that it may not follow the typical process is because the state over the last few years has passed various legislation to incentivize and streamline the production of housing. So it alters the traditional process that we have gone through here in Scotts Valley. We're still evaluating that process, but it will be different than the process that we're used to in the past.
Brave new world out there. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know we're all getting, I think, approached with people that don't understand that those changes and expect to see public hearings and expect to have more local control input. And that's something that I think we're all trying to help get that message out as those changes restrict our ability to include the public in the same way that we have in the past. Thanks.
And, I understand we've also seen other projects that are looking for funding within Scotts Valley that are going to be affordable or portions affordable. I know you say this falls under our housing element, and we had a full public process on that. How's it comparing with other projects that do or don't? What else are you seeing?
So what's interesting, in speaking of the state legislation, there's various new pieces of legislation. And so there's any number of ways an applicant can pursue a project. And we're seeing different versions of that in different locations throughout the city. So it's widely dependent on which property is in play, which piece of legislation is used. Those alter the process. But we are, for the most part, seeing interest in housing element sites and utilizing state law to further that 100% affordable goal that we have.
And do we, I saw it, but what was, remind me the total again that we would be eligible for in CDB?
So how many units the project is? Is that
No, I mean, is there
Dollar amount.
a dollar amount that they get assistance on that we're helping them support, or how does that work?
I don't know the dollar amount that they would be pursuing, and it's probably dependent a little bit on how they qualify. It's a competitive process, and so they have to be scored against other people. And so maybe there's a funding that could be, they may not get top tier, but they might get second tier. We also have the applicant in the audience online, so they
may speak to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jack could certainly speak to that if need be.
And then I also saw, at least in the plans that were attached, there's a, we're not talking about approving the project tonight, so I don't want to get into the details on the project, but is part of what our housing element called for a mix of units. I saw that this project, at least is laid out right now, is 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom units, 3-bedroom units. It's going to be a variety of housing types, all at low income levels. Is that, am I understanding all that correctly?
That is correct, yeah.
Great. Yeah, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so no further questions from the city council. I'll open this to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on this item can do so either remotely or in person. Are there any comments?
Like I said, we have the applicant and his hand is raised, and traditionally we let them speak first.
Step forward to the podium, please. We are.
So my name is Ty McConnell, and I've been a resident of Scotts Valley for over 44 years. And I am currently a tenant at the location. And I can speak on behalf of many of the other tenants. We're not really happy with the prospect of the whole site being torn down and put in the housing. So it seems like a perfectly fine building, and I know it's older, but it is a great location. I'd be very sad because I have to find a new location. I'm not sure if that's possible. And many of the other tenants will have trouble finding to relocating as well. So it's not just putting in low income housing, but it's also kicking everybody out. And we scramble. Often the small business owner always takes the brunt on these things. So I would be against giving a letter of support to this group. Thank you very much.
Forgive me, what was your name?
Ty McConnell, T.Y. McConnell.
Ty McConnell. Right, got that. Thank you for those comments. Appreciate it. Anybody
We do
else?
have somebody in the audience online, the applicant.
Right. Is that Burleson? Welcome.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We can, thank you. That's,
So my name is Jack Burleson. I'm with CRP Affordable. I'm the Director of Development. As was mentioned, we're focused on creating 100% affordable housing. So also apologies that I'm not able to attend this meeting in person, but appreciate the opportunity to speak on this item. And then first off, I just want to thank the staff for their hard work. It's a very lean team and they're extremely busy. But then, always find a way to make the process collaborative. So, as mentioned, 25 unit affordable housing development, 3 stories. They'll be deed restricted to households earning between 30% and 50% area median income. We have a pretty healthy mix of units, 5 1-bedrooms, 11 2-bedrooms, and 9 3-bedrooms. And one crucial piece to this project's financing is the existing award of 24 project-based vouchers that's being administered by the Housing Authority. So we appreciate the Housing Authority's continued support on that front. And then another critical piece of this project's financing is the CDBG DR funding, which is being administered by the state. And as mentioned, this letter of support to apply for this funding is just so that we're eligible to apply and compete. And regarding the amount that we'd be applying for, due to the kind of deep affordability targeting along with the large family unit mix, it would enable us to request $7 million through this funding, which would be, obviously a huge opportunity for us. The last step for the funding of this project would be to apply for tax credits through the state. And if we're successful in this CDBG DR application, then we will, can't say certainly, but as close to certain as possible, be successful in obtaining our tax credits. And regarding the existing tenants, the site, due to the project-based vouchers that we are receiving, we do need to comply with federal relocation requirements. So we will be providing relocation assistance for those businesses located on the site, in the form of both helping them actually locate suitable relocation options, as well as financial assistance for relocating to those spots. And that's the same process that we went through for the existing Capitola project that is currently under construction. I think that's it, but thank you for your consideration, and we appreciate the city's support in bringing affordable housing.
Thank you for that, Mr. Burleson. Have you conveyed what you spoke about in the latter parts of your comments with respect to aid with existing businesses? Has that been conveyed to them?
I do not believe so at this time. We just finalized our relocation plan with our consultant, but the consultant, as we get closer to, so we don't actually own the site currently, obviously, and we're under contract for it. But as we get closer to that time when ownership will change, our consultant will help engage with the existing tenants to provide relocation assistance.
It's nice at least to acknowledge your intentions, because like you say, you don't have the property yet, and there's a process. So maybe it's premature to do so, but it's nice to hear that there might be some help available for these people who are, I guess, inconvenienced, I guess, is a one way of saying it. Well, listen, thank you for that. Anybody else?
Yeah, a couple questions. One, do we have, obviously it's very expensive to live in Scotts Valley, and having housing for our workforce here is critical. And I'm just wondering, is there a process so Scotts Valley residents, employees here, like teachers in town, other people that need housing that can't afford it, is there a priority order, or how is that established for this project?
So one of the units on site will be a 3-bedroom unit dedicated to an on-site property manager. And then the other 24 units will be receiving project-based vouchers from the Housing Authority. And the way that, there's a Housing Authority waiting list of, I think, 10,000 households, unfortunately, at this point. And the way those units will be leased is just top applicants on the waiting list.
So not necessarily employees that work in Scotts Valley? Is there no priority for our residents or our workforce here? Or is it just first come, first serve if you happen to have a voucher and you work in, anywhere else in the county, you'll move here because you have a voucher? Or is there some sense to it? I mean, it would make sense that if someone works at Scotts Valley Market and they're making $15 an hour and they need assistance with housing, that they could walk down the street versus having to take a bus from, let's say, somewhere else further away in our county or the mountains.
Right. It's honestly not in CRP's control. I'm positive that the housing authority will apply some sort of logic to who they consider to be top applicants on the waiting list. But they'll be the ones ultimately deciding on who's able to lease those units.
I'd love it when you come back for actual approval on this project, or when we're going through that process, to have a real answer on that question. And I'd like for you to hear back from what's happening with, have that discussion with the Housing Authority in Santa Cruz County. So we're coming at this. Recently they did a study in Santa Cruz on affordable housing there, and the city could not answer the question. It was called out in the report. Yeah, I'm missing the name of the report, but it was called out in the county's report that they were not tracking who was actually getting the residents there, and was it really going to workforce in Santa Cruz. So I think that's something important that as a city that we prioritize. Additionally, Councilmember Dillis brought up the question on the quality of management. Tell us a little bit about CRP's reputation, what quality controls you have. I know you couldn't be here tonight, but what things do you do as a company to make sure that your projects are well maintained, housing issues are addressed? How do you tell us more about how you manage it?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, CRP does not manage our affordable properties in California. We had developed and owned and managed properties on the Northeast, but recognized that it requires some local expertise and a considerable amount of manpower to effectively manage properties, especially low-income housing tax credit properties. So we will be contracting with Cambridge Real Estate Services, who is one of the top low-income housing tax credit property managers in California. They will also be managing our Capitola project, and they have several others in Santa Cruz County as well. And to supplement them, we also have in-house compliance personnel dedicated to helping them with all aspects of property management on a remote basis. And then to further supplement the on-site property manager and just the property management company as a whole, we'll be partnering with Pacific Southwest Community Development Corporation, who is providing resident services free of charge. So, for example, one of the services they'll provide is after-school care programs for children living in the property. Another one is adult education courses regarding health and wellness and financial literacy and things like that. So, yeah, there will certainly be a high attention to detail on the maintenance and overall management side, but then we're also looking to foster a sense of community through these additional services.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, anyone?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on that a little bit. So how do you manage the managers? In other words, how do you manage the third parties, that whether it's Cambridge or the other folks that you mentioned, how do you assure the high quality in those services?
frequent on-site inspections. We also, it's a highly regulated type of housing, so the housing authority will be involved in doing their own inspections. Additionally, we have the tax credit investors and lenders, and also if we are awarded the state funding, HCD, who all have their own, reporting and kind of ongoing compliance criteria that we have to follow. So it's a very stringent program that we'll need to follow to ensure that it's being properly managed. So yeah, and I mean, ultimately we have to trust in our third-party property manager, and we do, and we picked them for that reason.
Okay. My other question is, can you talk a little bit about what your project budget is for this project and whether you'd be using local workers for the construction?
Yeah, so this project will be for two reasons. One, as Taylor mentioned, this project is being processed under SB 35, which is a state law for the entitlement piece of it. So that will require the payment of prevailing wages and certain apprentice requirements as well. And then also because of the project-based vouchers that the project will be using, construction workers will also be paid Davis-Bacon federal wage rates. Yeah, so as mentioned, we are a vertically integrated company, so our general contractor is based in San Diego. And I can't speak to the subcontractors that they'll plan on using. But it will certainly make sense to use local workers as much as possible.
Okay. And then can you talk at all about the size of the project budget for the whole construction project?
Yes, so let me pull up the latest. Yeah, so I mean it's in flux right now, and we'll have a better understanding of that as we get further into design phase. But the overall project budget is somewhere between $20 and $22 million, which is a lot. But when you're complying with all of these state and federal and different requirements, including the payment of prevailing wages and Davis-Bacon wages, and following certain accessibility requirements and certain energy efficiency requirements, those things add up, but it's worth it to create this deed restricted affordable housing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wishing to speak on this item? No? So,
Mayor, I have just one quick comment.
go ahead.
Thank you. I'm happy to see 100% affordable plus the manager's unit. So that sounds like a huge plus to me. We don't, typically have that kind of a project here, and we need it. And this is on a site that has been identified in our housing element as a good property in which to develop affordable housing. So I'm happy to see this at this point. Of course, I want to see what the project's going to look like, but in concept, I like this a lot.
Yes.
I'm also excited to see a project that falls within. We went through a very long public process on our housing element, and also on our it's a years-long process council undertook, met the state standards on that. And we've got a lot of really, say, several sites in Scotts Valley that are right. this is one of them. So same time, I'm hearing from our residents within the complex saying that they are concerned about it being developed. I think I'm glad to hear that the applicant is going to provide relocation assistance. But I know that we need to make sure the businesses are taken care of. And from a staff perspective, anything we can do to help ease relocation when they're moving or having to move, right on the city's end. That's a part we play to assist as these sites get redeveloped. I am a little concerned that I do want to hear when they come back with their final application about how they're going to make sure that this does become workforce housing for our city, and how we're going to work with the housing authority in doing that. I'm also a little concerned. I just did a quick Google search on Cambridge Management, their real estate services, and their operator in the Bay Area, mostly 1 stars with lots of complaints from. So they might want to consider who they're selecting for that. But all the ones I see here, I mean, I don't have any verification on Google reviews, but when it's up at 1 star, there might be something. So I would ask them to maybe look at who their management partner is going to be. There's a lot of concerns raised there. I understand that's not their management, but look at hard who they're going to select in doing that, because we do want to know that this is run well. And so if this company is developing it, we really like to see them develop it and then manage it. So I think that's important to our community. But overall, I think it's a good idea to support. I mean, if there's money out there for this particular project that can help get affordable housing created in a site that we've already done a community review process on, good thing. So supportive of it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
If there's no more comments, I would.
Well, I just want to say, thank you, Mr. Burleson, for answering a lot of questions here, but I think they're pertinent with respect to the future of this property. I've been something of a critic of the state kind of taking away local authority. But I do have to say, I think Vice Mayor Tim and I were at the town center meeting over at the community center, where and out of nowhere, one of the people who attended asked about affordable housing, he was kind of hurt by the fact that he made a really decent wage, but he could barely afford to live in the city. And so, and we get letters about that where people say that, I can't live here. I love the city, but I need some place to stay. So with that respect, I think we're doing more than the right thing in making the recommendation to help, anything we can do financially to help further affordable housing projects like this. I think, notwithstanding some of the upset that the current tenants might have, but these people that need a place to stay, need a place to raise a family, need a place to live, is very compelling. And I'm hopeful that this is, this is the start of, I'm not gonna say it's the start of something beautiful, to quote a old Bogart phrase, but it is something within the 1,220 units that we are going to be building over the next 8 or some years. It is a start, and I think it's worthy of our support to have our city manager write this letter, send it, and I'm hopeful that we can, will be successful. With that, you can make a motion.
Just to follow on from your comments, I mean, this is a critical need. It is not something that we should be happy about, that some of our low-income workers have to commute from Salinas or further afield to come and work in Scotts Valley, as I've heard from several people. And, the state requirements are the state requirements, but projects such as this, providing 100% affordable housing, really move the needle and is a culmination of all the work we did on the hill. and all the work staff did to get us there. So I think it's actually an exciting thing for us to authorize. So with that, I would move the staff recommendation that we authorize the city manager to sign the letter of support for the applicant's funding and funding application to the Disaster Recovery Multifamily Housing Program.
I'll second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there for any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimous. Good luck. Good luck, Mr. Burleson, on your project. See you soon. Right. With that, we'll move on to second regular agenda item, which is future council agenda. Are there any? Seeing none? We are adjourned. Thanks for tuning in.